I never imagined that the husband who couldn't be intimate with me for 5 long years was secretly capable of passion with another woman every weekend. Not just small lies, not just one mistake, an entire hidden life that I knew nothing about. And what I discovered next completely changed the way I see love forever. Stay with me, because this only gets worse. It was a chilly March afternoon in Denver. Light snow still fell outside the window. Ryan was downstairs in the basement gym with the door locked. Emily, stood in the kitchen, staring at the credit card statement I had just opened. My eyes froze on one line. Hotel Indigo, $487. Suite, 2 guests. That same day, Ryan had told me he was at a team-building meeting in Boulder. I knew Boulder was only a 4 or 5 minute drive away. There was no reason for him to stay at a hotel. I flipped the page. Another charge stood out. Victoria's Secret, $189. Lace lingerie. It wasn't my size. After 2 pregnancies, I wear a medium. Ryan hadn't bought me anything like that since Ava was born 8 years ago. My heart pounded. For 5 years, every time I tried to get close, Ryan would say the same thing. Babe, I have erectile dysfunction. It's work stress and low testosterone. The doctor says I can't do anything. Then he would roll over, turn off the lights, and leave me lying there in the dark, tears silently falling onto my pillow. I believed him. I blamed myself. I thought maybe my body after childbirth was no longer attractive. I went to the gym, dieted, bought expensive nightwear, and even suggested couples counseling. Ryan would just shake his head. Don't push me, Emily. I don't want to disappoint you. And now, he was staying at hotels with someone else. I sank into the chair, hands shaking as I opened his phone. The passcode was still our wedding date, the 12th of June 2018. The first message was from Lila. Lila, baby, last night was incredible. You made me feel things I've never felt before. Ryan, I didn't expect to feel this alive either. With you, it's effortless. With my wife, it's just not the same. I stopped breathing. I kept reading. There were photos and short videos. Ryan looked completely different, confident, passionate, and fully present with her. In one clip, he smiled and said, "You make me feel like a real man again." I wanted to scream, but I just sat there, tears streaming down my face onto the screen. For 5 years, I had called myself a failure as a wife. For 5 years, I cried alone in the bathroom because I thought my husband was broken. For 5 years, I hugged our children and lied. Daddy's just tired, sweetheart. Let me take you back to the beginning so you can understand how deeply this betrayal cut me. I met Ryan in 2016 at a company party in downtown Denver. I was 28, an elementary school teacher recovering from a painful breakup. Ryan was 30, a software engineer at a major tech company, tall, funny, and the kind of man who would wrap his arms around me from behind. We married 2 years later at a beautiful resort in Estes Park. I wore a white wedding dress. He cried when my father walked me down the aisle. I thought, this is the man who will stand by me through everything. We bought a 2-story house in the suburbs of Littleton. Ava was born in 2017, Ben in 2019. Life felt perfect. Ryan earned a promotion to team lead. I continued teaching and caring for the kids. Then in 2020, everything began to change. Ryan suddenly struggled with intimacy. The first time he said, "Babe, I can't perform. It's probably the stress from COVID." I comforted him, bought supplements, and scheduled doctor visits. The doctor said his testosterone levels were normal. Ryan refused medication. "I don't want to rely on pills. It's too embarrassing." I believed him. I hugged him and whispered, "It's okay. We can be close in other ways." But he pulled away from everything. No deep kisses. No affection. Every night became the same. "I'm tired. I have an early meeting tomorrow." I started doubting myself. I had gained weight after giving birth. I bought creams, practiced yoga, and wore pretty nightgowns. Ryan would glance at me and look away. "Don't try so hard, Emily. I just can't." I cried in secret. I felt I was no longer desirable. My friends told me I looked beautiful. My students adored me. But every night beside my husband, I felt invisible and worthless. I suggested sex therapy. Ryan attended one session and quit. The therapist called it psychological ED. I don't want to talk to a stranger about this. I accepted it. I learned to live without physical closeness. I would find quiet moments alone, then wipe my tears and go hug the children. I told myself, at least he's still here. At least he's a good father. But over the last 8 months, Ryan had been changing. He started going to the gym later in the evening. He bought a new exercise bike saying, "I need to focus on my health." He would come home with a strange, satisfied smile, sweaty but energized. He even began singing in the shower the same songs he played when we first fell in love. When I asked why he seemed so happy, he smiled and said, "Work is finally going well, babe." Small red flags appeared. The gym bill doubled. Late-night text messages. Once I overheard him on a call in the car. "Lila, I can't wait until Friday." His voice was warm and eager, nothing like the tired, distant husband I knew. I tried to convince myself I was overthinking. I even bought him a nice watch and told him, "I love you no matter what." He kissed my forehead but avoided my lips. "I love you too." Then came today, the day I opened that hotel bill and my entire world shattered. I didn't wait for him to come upstairs. I drove straight to the gym where he trained. I knew Lila was a personal trainer there. I had seen her name once before in his search history, but I had brushed it off. I walked into the gym. Lila was coaching a client. She was tall, fit, with blonde hair tied in a high ponytail. When she saw me, she froze. Ryan was sitting on a bench, wiping sweat, smiling at her. I walked straight up to them. My voice stayed calm, but each word felt like a blade. "Ryan, you've told me for 5 years that you're impotent, but with Lila you suddenly have no problem at all?" The entire gym fell silent. Everyone turned to stare. Ryan jumped to his feet, his face drained of color. Lila covered her mouth, eyes wide with shock. I held up my phone and played the video I had saved from his device. Ryan's voice filled the room. "Lila, you make me feel alive again. My wife can't do that for me anymore. It's only you." Ryan stammered, "Emily, please, let me explain. I've been depressed. I didn't want to hurt you." I let out a bitter laugh, the most painful sound I had ever made. "Explain what? You told the doctor you had permanent erectile dysfunction. You let me cry myself to sleep for years because I believed I was unattractive. You let me feel so worthless I nearly broke down. Yet you could be intimate with your trainer 3 times a week?" Lila stepped back, her voice trembling. "He said you two weren't close anymore. He said he needed to feel like a man." I turned to her, tears falling but my voice steady and strong. "You thought you were special? He was only using you to prove he was still a man." While I, his wife, the mother of his children, lived in silent pain for 5 years. Ryan dropped to his knees right there in the middle of the gym. "Emily, I was wrong. I was scared of losing you, so I hid everything. I still love you." I looked straight into his eyes, the eyes of the man I once believed was my everything. "You don't love me. You needed me at home raising the kids and keeping the house so you could go out and feel like a man with someone else. You're not impotent. You were only distant and cold with me." I turned and walked out. Behind me were shocked whispers, Ryan's broken sobs, and Lila calling his name. I drove home through the falling snow. Tears blurred the windshield. I cried from deep shame. I cried from burning anger. I cried for the 5 years I had slowly disappeared inside myself from self-doubt. I remembered reaching for him at night, only to feel him pull away. I remembered wearing something new for him and seeing disappointment in his eyes. I remembered apologizing to him for not being enough. When I got home, I held Ava and Ben while they slept. They asked softly, "Why is Mommy crying?" I wiped my tears and whispered, "Mommy's just tired, my loves. Mommy loves you more than anything." The next morning I called a lawyer, Rachel, the divorce attorney I had contacted the week before when my suspicions grew. She was direct. "We have strong evidence. Infidelity, years of deception, and emotional abuse. He can no longer hide behind claims of impotence. I gathered everything: messages, videos, receipts, and recorded calls. Ryan was fired when the company learned what happened. The video spread quickly through internal chats. Lila also lost her job for becoming involved with a married client. Ryan begged desperately. He stood outside our house in the snow, flakes covering his hair, tears freezing on his cheeks. Emily, I made a terrible mistake. I don't want to lose my family. I'll go to real therapy. I'll take the medication. We can start over. Please. I opened the door and looked at him one last time. My voice was calm but carried the weight of 5 years of pain. You don't need more therapy. You need to admit you stopped wanting me long ago. You used erectile dysfunction as a shield, so you wouldn't have to face me or touch me. Now you've lost everything: the house, the children, your reputation, and the wife who once believed you were her safe place and her hero. He knelt in the snow as I slowly closed the door. 2 months later, Ryan had to sell his car to pay child support. Lila sent me one message. I was fooled too. He said he never felt strong with his wife. Now I'm alone with this. You were right. I didn't reply. I didn't need to win. I only needed to rise. Today I stand in my new kitchen in Aurora. Ava and Ben are drawing at the table, laughing freely. They smile more now. I've lost 10 pounds not to impress anyone, but because I finally want to love and care for myself. I started teaching yoga classes for mothers, and I'm earning more than I did before. I've begun seeing a kind man who respects me deeply and never makes me feel small or inadequate. Every time I drive past that old gym, I no longer feel pain. I feel strength. That realization hit me like a storm. It shattered my confidence, filled me with shame, and nearly destroyed who I was. But from those broken pieces, I rebuilt myself stronger, wiser, and more beautiful than ever. I am living fully. I am smiling brightly. I am loving myself unapologetically. And that is my most powerful victory. If you've ever trusted someone, and they broke that trust, tell me in the comments. Would you forgive or walk away?